So the fine folks over at IK Multimedia, I must say, have been really knocking it out of the park as of late. All the way back last year, the introduction of their iLoud precision monitors, of which I have a pair here in the studio, and they've really, hands down, been the biggest upgrade I've had to my studio. And then their release of their Tonex ecosystem, starting with the Tonex software and Tonex capture box, which allowed us to capture tone models of our existing amplifiers in a Mac or PC computer. And then more recently, adding to that, the Tonex pedal. Well, now they're expanding on all of those products with another product that is potentially going to make it even easier and more accessible for a lot of folks to get into this Tonex system and even be able to use with their iLoud precision monitors. They have just released this. This is the AXIO 1 audio interface. Really wonderful little interface, nice and small, bus powered. What is it? Well, basically, it's a 1-in, 3-out audio interface, full MIDI implementation, and some other features. And we're going to dive in today and take a look at just what this is capable of. We'll take a look at all the features, we'll give it a quick listen, and we'll also talk about how we can utilize it in the Tonex ecosystem to very effortlessly make our own tone models utilizing Tonex. So let's dive in and take a look and see exactly what this is all about. So let's take a closer look at the AXIO 1 interface by looking at the top panel. So number one here, we have our gain control. This is going to simply adjust the input gain for the signal at the input, whether we're using it as an instrument input or for a microphone. Moving over just to the right of that, we do have peak meters. The input has a dedicated 5-segment peak meter with a 1-second hold on clips that indicates the level of the input signal. Moving over from that, we have the Z-Tone variable impedance control. The front control named Z-Tone allows you to change the input impedance on the instrument input, allowing for unique possibilities for tone shaping for your instruments. And this is going to really be one of the most powerful features of this instrument input. Moving directly down from that, we have the JFET/Pure switch. So this is the preamp topology selector. This is going to allow you to select 2 different preamp topologies for your connected instrument, JFET preamp type or Pure preamp type. In a nutshell, the discrete JFET field effect transistor circuit is going to allow us to add a tiny bit of color and harmonics to the signal, giving your instrument some added warmth. The Pure circuitry setting results in a more linear response featuring basically the absolute cleanest signal path possible for best transparency and clarity. Either of these settings is going to work great. They're going to just have slightly different sonic performance, and it's going to be up to us to decide what we would want to use. Both are perfectly valid ways of working, and there is no right and wrong. It's really just going to be up to us, but it sure is nice to have this ability to switch back and forth between these 2 settings. Moving just to the left of that, we have the passive active switch pickup selector. So this selector is going to allow you to match the type of pickup installed on your instrument. If you have active pickups, then you're going to want to switch that to active. If you're using passive pickups, you would set that to passive. To the left of that, we have the MIDI in-out LEDs. So these LEDs are basically going to give you information about how the interface is being used. For instance, it's going to tell us whether we have the instrument input being used or a mic connected, whether the USB is connected or whether MIDI in and out is connected. Just to the left of that, we have the 48-volt phantom power switch. This is going to allow us to enable 48-volt phantom power if we're using a microphone that requires it. Otherwise, we'd want to just keep this turned off. Up in the top right, we have a monitor knob, and this is going to allow you to blend your input signals with the playback streams from your computer. So this is going to allow you to monitor your input signal with 0 latency. If the knob is positioned at 12 o'clock, the input signal and the playback stream will be equally balanced. Turning the knob to the left will increase the level of whatever the direct signal is that you're feeding into it, and turning it to the right will increase the level of the playback stream from your DAW. This control works both for outputs 1 and 2 and for headphones. Speaking of headphones, right to the right of our monitor control, we have a headphone knob which allows you to control the headphone volume. And below that, we have our large master main output level control, and this is going to control the level that we send out of outputs 1 and 2 on the rear panel. Now, switching our attention over to the front panel, we have a mic/instrument input. So this is an XLR combo type input socket, which we can either connect a microphone or an instrument to, as is shown by the little tiny guitar symbol next to that input. Just to the right of that, we have the headphone output. This is where we are going to connect our headphones. And as we already mentioned, we have a dedicated volume control, and this works quite nicely. Now, right to the right of the headphone, we have the amp out. Now, this is going to be one of the most important features of this amazing little interface. This is a 3/4 quarter-inch physical, unbalanced, floating output with selectable ground lift, which is going to be controlled in the software, which we'll talk about shortly. It's independent from the main outputs 1 and 2. This output is specifically designed to allow the interface to feed guitar amps or stomp pedals without the typically associated risk of hum or buzzing noises caused by ground loops or mismatched levels and impedances. So what we can do with this is we can use this to essentially reamp any DI'd guitar tracks that we've had recorded in our DAW. We'll be able to send those DI guitar tracks out at the proper level and impedance to hit the front of our guitar amp so we have it react the way that we want. This is also going to be an integral part of utilizing AXIO1 to create Tonex tone models. Moving to the rear panel, we have our USB port. This is a Type-C connector, which is going to allow us to connect this to our computer with the supplied cable. We have a Kensington security lock, which will allow us to secure your AXIO1 to a suitable structure if desired. We also have both MIDI in and out on standard 5-pin DIN sockets for connection to any external MIDI equipment. Another really great feature, though, is we also have external control connectors, and we can use these 1/4-inch jacks to connect external control pedals, single or dual switches, continuous expression pedals. MIDI messages sent are freely assignable from the control software. Nice addition if we want to be able to control something like Amplitude 5 right from the interface. And then finally, we have the line outputs, which are going to be outputs 1 left and 2 right. They're balanced and floating analog line outputs on 1/4-inch jack sockets. We would use TRS jacks for a balanced connection. Outputs 1 and 2 will normally be used to drive the primary monitoring system. Now, coming back up to our instrument input, we already discussed a little bit about our JFET and Pure settings. One very cool feature is the variable impedance Z-tone control, and this is only going to work when we are utilizing the instrument input. So all passive pickups, whether single coil, humbucker, etc., have certain sound characteristics that's also determined by the loading impedance. The Z-tone control allows you to change the input impedance on the instrument input, therefore providing a very creative way of shaping the tone of your instruments. And we're going to give this a listen very shortly. A couple examples: if you're finding your high gain tones to be too harsh, you can try setting this control at its mid position, and you'll experience just sort of a balancing of those harsh frequencies. Or if maybe we're recording a bass guitar with passive pickups and it's sounding thin, we could also try the same thing to kind of add a little beef to it. When we are set over to the sharp setting on the Z-tone control, we're going to be set to an impedance of 1 mega ohm, and when we rotate it all the way to bold, we would move it all the way down to 2.2 kilo ohms. So quite a dramatic difference, and it will have a dramatic difference on our tone. So what else do we get with AXIO1? Amazingly, we also get free versions of Amplitude 5 SE and Tonex SE, so that we have instant access to a vast library of gear and tone models that we can get up and running with immediately. Now, what if we wanted to actually utilize this in conjunction with Tonex software to create tone models? At first glance, some people may look and go, well, there's not enough input. If we have to mic a guitar amp and utilize the one mic preamp that we have on the interface, where are we going to plug our guitar? Well, the beautiful part about it is upon release of this interface, there will be an update for the Tonex software, which will allow us to create tone models, not having to assign our instrument input in the Tonex modeling software. We can simply utilize the included sound files to not only create the models, but to also monitor them after to see the accuracy of our captures. All along, we never really needed to have our guitar instrument input connected to create a tone model, but the software required us to assign it. That limitation is going to be removed, and any end user will be able to use the AXIO1 as a complete solution to create a tone model utilizing the Tonex software. So this is a great feature. What we would simply do is send the test signals from Tonex software out of the amp output into the front of our amplifier. We would mic that up, and then we would feed that microphone back into the high quality mic preamp that's included as part of AXIO1. And it will work beautifully and allow people to make their tone models in conjunction with the software with a very budget conscious audio interface. So this is really going to open up this world to a lot of users that maybe didn't have the ability to capture their own tone models before. This is wonderful news. So how does this instrument input sound? Well, let's give it a listen. So here we are over in the AXIO1 control panel. So up here in the top right-hand corner, we have an info button. Gives us the app version, the driver version, and the firmware version we're using. Switching over to the top left corner, we have our little hardware section, which shows us what we have connected. In this case, it's the AXIO1, and it tells us it is actually connected. We have MIDI in and MIDI out indicators. We have our configuration tab here, which tells us the sample rate we're at and the buffer size we're using. We also have an audio input indicator here with a detailed meter. Tells us whether we're utilizing the instrument input, the microphone input, allows us to engage or disengage the 48-volt phantom power. And another really interesting feature is the 2 amp out button. So if we're plugged in with our guitar into audio input 1, we also have the choice to feed that directly out to the amp output. We have our audio output section where we have our fader here that's going to control the level of our main out 1 and 2. We can mute that if we want, and we also have a signal level meter here as well. We have the same features for our amp out. We can control the output level of it. We have audio meters for it. We can mute it. We also have a very useful ground lift button. If we are getting some noise on that, we can try engaging or disengaging that to fix that problem. Now onto the controller tab. This is where we would set the MIDI channel that we're dealing with the audio interface, and also assign the external control inputs 1 and 2. We can assign these to expression pedals, single switches, or double switches. If we're assigned to expression pedal, we can choose whether it's compressed, expanded, or linear. We have CC number assignments and minimum and maximum settings. For single and double switches, we also have the ability to change those from momentary to latch, CC number assignments, and also minimum and maximum settings. All right, so there you have it. Unbelievable release from the fine folks at IK Multimedia. They just fail to disappoint. It's a really killer interface. I've had it in my hands for a while before the release, and I've had an opportunity to work with it. It's worked flawlessly. It's an incredible unit, and for the price of $129.99 US dollars or euros, it really is a tough audio interface to beat for all that it offers. If you're interested, I do have an affiliate link below. You can click on that. I get a little kickback from IK if you do decide to purchase one through that link, and it's always appreciated. It helps to support my channel and allows me to keep doing these videos that a lot of folks tell me that they enjoy. And go give the AXIO1 a good look on the IK Multimedia website, and if you feel that it's something that could benefit yourself, especially at this price point, it's really hard to beat, those are available now. So thank you guys again so much. Please like the video. Please share the video with anybody who you think would get some use or enjoyment out of watching it. And also please subscribe to the channel. Hit the little bell notification to get notified when I put new content out. I will be back very soon with some more. Thank you guys again for sharing your time with me. Ciao for now.